Welcome to Stop Overthinking, the podcast for overthinkers, people pleasers, and perfectionists who want to feel calm and confident enough to handle whatever life sends your way. I'm your host, Kristen Odegaard, a women's life and mindset coach, lifelong educator, and recovering perfectionist. Welcome back to the Stop Overthinking podcast. I have another guest today, Jill Howell, and she's going to talk to us about somatic practices and just another possibility of work that we can do in terms of emotional healing and growth. So welcome, Jill. And let's dive in and just tell us a little bit about yourself. What is the work that you do? And usually with guests, I find that there's some sort of story that brought them to this work. So feel free to share that as well.
Sure. Yes. So I'm an emotional health coach, if you want to put it in the most basic, simple terms. However, if you want to get a little fancier, I'm a somatic trauma practitioner, somatic trauma recovery practitioner. And that can be a lot. So I always just say I'm an emotional health coach to keep it easier. But what I'm doing is I'm helping guide people to recover after any sort of traumatic experiences, but not even just from trauma, but just from just the nervous system dysregulation and from living like with high amounts of anxiety and depression, and guiding them to heal through their body and their mind. So it's somatic comes from the word soma, which is a Greek word that means body. So everything that I do is incorporating the body as well as the mind. So it's in more of an integrative approach. And yeah, there is a story for sure. Back in 2019 and 2020, my nervous system became so dysregulated and I was stuck in fight, flight, or freeze all the time. And that's what I would call nervous system dysregulation. You know, when we're stuck in those patterns for too long, when it becomes a chronic struggle to get out of fight, flight, or freeze, then the body needed guided more. So my body in particular started struggling. I was having a lot of a traumatic experience going on at the time that caused my neck to have a lot of chronic pain. I was having a lot of emotional pain. I knew I was stressed, but the neck pain was so intense that it actually was debilitating for me. So I started like everybody would. Oh, I went for a massage. I went for acupuncture. I did cupping. I did chiropractor. And then finally, when all those things weren't really working, I was like, okay, I'll try physical therapy. So I spent thousands of dollars trying to get rid of the pain that I was feeling, and nothing was getting rid of it long term. So it would just barely, take the edge off and let me still function in life. But the chronic pain was so intense, and it was so resilient and never ending that I was like, okay, I know that I'm going through a really big traumatic experience right now. And I believe that I need to do some deeper work here. And I, at that point, had gone through just traditional talk therapy, cognitive talk therapy for probably 2 decades at that point. So for me, I thought I was doing the inner work. And so that was why the chronic pain was kind of like, well, I've been doing counseling. I'm doing counseling. And then I was like, I found somebody else who had mentioned that it was like chronic pain can be related to trauma and stored, stuck emotion in the body. And so I went on this massive discovery of I am going to do whatever I can to help myself heal and move through this, because I don't want to feel this way again. Like I literally, and not to sound dramatic, but was at the ends of myself at that moment. It was the second time in my life that I would say I wanted to die. I wasn't suicidal as in I was coming up with strategies or I was actively taking measures towards that, but I was really low, like really low. And getting to that place is a very, very scary place to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was scared for being there for a second time in my life. And I was like, oh, stink. Like, if I don't do something different, then like this is bad. Like, this could be a really bad thing.
Right.
And I knew I was that close to going down the wrong path if I didn't find a different way.
Mm.
So this is where I just really started discovering. I hired a trauma coach and I discovered a little bit of somatics there, but more so brain retraining there. And then I moved into a lot more of the somatic work because my nervous system has been dysregulated my entire life. I believe my nervous system was dysregulated when I was in the womb of my mom because she was in crisis when I was inside of her and I came into the world feeling that. So I've always been incredibly sensitive and not known what to do with it. And I think because my nervous system had been so sensitive that it just needed more support than cognitive processing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's where then I just opened up the door to understanding as much as I could about the somatics part of healing and really guiding my body to feel safe in the world, not just trying from a brain mental state of trying to think my way there.
Mm-hmm.
I had to actually learn an embodied way to heal by guiding my body through to feel and to actually receive the fullness of the cognitive processing therapy that was, I had been trying to do for so long.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, and thank you so much for sharing. My mind's going all different places here of where I want to go. Yes. So I can say most of my listeners are familiar because I am kind of in between, right? In the coaching that I do is also emotional coaching, but it is not as deep as getting into the somatic integration pieces, has more elements of the cognitive talk therapy. But I also know that for myself and many of my clients that sometimes even deciphering what's going on in your body, being able to name an emotion can be really difficult. We're so disconnected from the whole process. And so in my journey, I have also used lots of various therapies and have kind of sampled some of the somatic practices as well, just to be able to understand, right, like what's going on. You mentioned a couple of times about like nervous system dysregulation and being stuck in the fight, flight, or freeze. And so, again, those are terms that we've probably heard, but how would somebody know that they're stuck there? How would they know that this is something that could be helpful or what they would need?
Yeah. I tell people to look at symptoms of their body, symptoms of like chronic fatigue, chronically feeling overwhelmed or having brain fog, not being able to think clearly. Also, chronic pain or chronic like tightness of the chest, chronic digestive problems. The body is speaking and trying to get our attention all of the time to let us know that something's not right and that it's not balanced. That's the first place I tell people to start. Like, are you having any of those things taking place? There's a whole long list of things really that can be connected with just traumatic stress that's stuck in the body.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really simplified way to look at it. The other way to look at it is to even look at your past. So another layer that I hadn't actually shared with you yet about is that I also incorporate inner child healing work and parts work with what I'm doing. And so I do a somatic approach of, integrating that in as well. And so one of the things too is like, if you look back in your past and you have had any moments of your life where you have felt out of control, where something felt like it was too much or too fast or not enough, like those are really good indicators that there's probably some stuck emotion inside of you. Even just looking at it from that standpoint, like, have I ever been through any situation, big or small, that has made me feel like I didn't have the proper support, like I felt all alone in the midst of it. Oftentimes, if the answer is yes, if we have felt alone in any sort of given situation, that our brain, our survival brain, is likely holding on to beliefs and thoughts and emotions that are still really stuck inside of both mind and body.
Mm-hmm. I can say for me personally, and my listeners have heard that there was a period several years ago as well that I was going through a divorce. There had been an affair on my husband's part. My mom had died. My dad remarried within about a year. And I had this abandonment feeling that in some ways it seemed really natural, but I ended up doing quite a bit of inner child healing work after a point in time too, realizing there were pieces in my childhood. I had a brother that was chronically ill. And so a lot of time and attention was focused on him naturally, and that perfectly made sense. But I had no idea the amount of connection or lack of connection that I felt. And then here comes, 35 years later, and trying to do that work. And so, yes, I can say absolutely that what happens that they're stored for so long.
When we go through a circumstance that's difficult, like we've mentioned, and when we're feeling big emotions in that moment, it is a part of the body. The body is feeling it. So on a cellular level, the body remembers every traumatic, heightened experience that we have. It's like a database. I mean, our bodies are brilliant. And the brain, yes, it remembers things, but the brain is also, the survival brain helps us to disassociate and disconnect and to not always remember things from the past in order to survive. If something is legitimately way too much for the brain to hold, it will do that as a self-coping strategy to help us survive whatever we're enduring. And so we have to remember that we may not always remember everything accurately in our brain, but the body has a felt sense. And that's where the emotions are. The emotions are felt in the body. Oftentimes, when we get really good at noticing the symptoms of the body, and the sensations of the body, because the body communicates through sensation, when we start learning to notice the sensation, we recognize, oh, wow, the body is actually giving us a little bit of an alert, a smoke signal. I like to call it that's the smoke detector that starts to go off, and it goes off in our body first. And 80% of the information is traveling up our vagus nerve to the brain. And so all of the input of threat and danger is actually being received by the body first. And so the body's remembering it, and it will remember for as long as we've been alive on a cellular level, which is amazing to me. But it makes sense as to why people start having a stomach ache and they're like, what's going on? Why is my stomach hurting? And then it's like, oh, well, because of this, or I'm thinking about this, or I'm afraid about this. And we can see too, our chests tighten, our breaths get more shallow and shorter.
Yeah.
And we get out of breath, and sometimes we even hold our breath and we're not even aware of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's our bodies are truly amazing, and how all of it is connected and working together. And like you said, I've certainly had different physical ailments that I've gone through as well, and done the gamut from massage and chiropractor and physical therapy, and all of those are wonderful, and I still use them on a regular basis. But when it was interesting, I went to see a massage therapist who worked more on the somatic end of things as well. And she, one of the first things she asked me was like, what's going on in your life right now? And being able to connect it. And it was, my back had just locked up with different pieces. And then we found out, well, I can't really take a deep breath right now. And so, yes, I mean, all of those pieces. So you have to find the right practitioner who can work with you as well, going through those processes. But it would have never occurred to me that I mean, I knew emotionally and I figured, yeah, some of this was stress, but just how connected that was. Yeah.
Yeah.
So somatic practice is going deeper, like what happens, like how does this make somebody feel better, like what kinds of things do you integrate in terms of that? We know it involves your body, like what does that look like?
Yeah. So, there's two different ways you can look at the word somatics. Okay. A lot of people, if you look at what just a somatic practice is, I mean, breath work is somatic because it's body based. Meditations can be somatic experiences, movement of the body is somatic, but somatic experiencing is very different because it is all about the emotional reconnection through the body. So I just wanted to clarify that because I
Yes,
think it
thank
can
you.
be confusing. And I think that
Mhm.
there's two different realms of somatics. There's the
Yes.
somatic practices of actual execution of doing things integrative with the body. And I
Yes.
think that the difference is that with somatic experiencing, you are actually reconnecting to these deeper inner parts of you. And so because I intertwine the IFS therapy, which is internal family systems therapy, and it's also known as parts work,
Yep.
because I incorporate that with what I do as well, we are somatically going to the body, and then we are connecting with these younger parts of us that have felt this way for a long time. Sometimes, and when I say younger, it doesn't have to mean like a little child version of you. It can be a younger adult version of you. It can be a version of you from a couple years ago, or a version of you from when the trauma started and actually took place in your life, which could have been yesterday.
Mhm.
So, really though, most of the time, when there's an emotional chain, meaning we have the same emotional expression that comes up in us a lot repeatedly, it's oftentimes connected, in a chain. I like to call it a chain, an emotional chain, to something that is deeply rooted in those foundational developmental years as a child, too.
Mhm.
And so sometimes connecting with that younger version of us can help us to really meet the core needs that didn't get met during those situations.
Mhm. So, for example, if a person is, say they've had a really bad day, from it was hard getting the kids out in the door in the morning, you were
Mhm.
running late, somebody didn't show up, the project didn't get done, whatever, to going home and you get the message from your partner who's like, yeah, I had a hard day, I'm gonna hang out with the guys for a couple hours tonight, I'll be home later. And that the rage or something that
Yeah.
bubbles forward. And at not where would you have somebody go with something like that, to try and see, is this something that deeper?
Yeah. So really, honestly, I pause. And the first thing we always do is we ground. So I use a grounding practice to really guide ourselves to just pause, give ourselves permission to pause and notice our breath, come connected with our body, doing a body scan, and genuinely looking for the places of our body that are holding tension, stress, feel constricted, feel any sort of sensation that feels big
Mhm.
in that moment. And oftentimes there it is. I mean, I haven't met a person yet that's told me I have nothing in my body right now. When I know if they've just accessed an emotion, they genuinely have it in their body too. And we pause and we connect with where it's at in the body. Oftentimes people will have it in their back, their shoulders, their neck, their chest, their stomach, sometimes the hips, the head or the jaw area, the throat area. And so we go to that place and we really get curious about naming the sensations that are present first. What do we notice about it here? What does it look like and what does it feel like? And we describe it in different ways. And then I will also sometimes incorporate visualization, and we will visualize creating space for that part inside of our body that's feeling so tense and allowing there just to be a little space. Like we help this part of our body know we're not trying to get rid of you. We're not trying to get rid of the pain or the tension that's there, which is a completely contrary, like it's just so contrary to what we're used to, right? We want to suppress, repress, get rid of, release. And it's like, really, truly, the way to release something is to not try to force it to be gotten rid of, like to try and just get rid of it. Actually, like communicates with that emotional part of us that it's in danger, and it's like it actually makes it cling on and intensify and get worse.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm creating this beautiful, safe space for us to say, hey, what's happening right here in the chest right now, like we don't have to get rid of it. We can just be with it. Let's just be with it for a minute, not trying to get rid of it. Let's really investigate, what is it holding? What energy is it holding? What emotion is it holding? What is it trying to communicate to us? What does this part of us really want us to know?
Yeah.
And then we go and we communicate with that part of us. And we learn what core needs were not met for that part. Sometimes we go deeper into inner child healing and see how old it is and how long it's been there. And just asking that part of the body. And when you ask the part of the body what it's holding and what's going on inside, things come up. And oftentimes I invite my clients to close their eyes, because when our eyes are open, our brain is active, and it is sometimes our mind can just get in the way. So I invite my clients to close their eyes and really go inward, and we slow down and we pause to be with it in a different way. And we just allow the felt sense, and whatever comes up first is the subconscious speaking, and we allow it to be heard. And then we respond to it with a lot of love and compassion. And we speak to it in a way that allows it to know that it's supported and it's not alone. And like, it's a separate part of us, like it's a part of us. We have lots of different parts of us. There are no bad parts. Even the angry parts of us are not bad. They're all messengers, and they're communicating with us oftentimes through our body first. And when we connect with them, we allow them to know, hey, like it's safe. Like you're safe here with me. And I'm not just trying to get rid of you. I'm not trying to ignore you, repress you, dismiss you. I am no longer going to abandon you. I'm here. And then that part softens, and the tension that's felt in the body slowly melts away. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a really beautiful, reconnective, energetic journey.
And I found I work primarily with women, but not
me too.
all of my clients, and many high achievers, people pleasers, and
me.
You know, yes, with perfectionistic tendencies, right? Yeah, this was me. And being able to understand like our own emotions and how it works, and that I don't have to push them away, was all part of that process, right? Because so many, depending on how you grew up or whatever pressures were culturally, societally, your family, that those expectations that were put on you about being a good girl or showing up in a certain way, and it didn't seem like you could always express yourself, right? And then we just use that as a habit, and then over decades it's like, holy crap, I am disconnected with my body, or I don't even know what does anger feel like, because I either just react to it or I try and push it away because I'm not supposed to feel that way.
Yeah.
And
then
so
it leads to more guilt and shame.
Right. Yeah.
And then we end up not liking ourselves because we don't like feeling angry, and we don't know what to do with the anger. And we weren't supposed to have anger when we were younger, and we weren't allowed to express any of our true emotions. And I actually would vouch it's a very, very high percentage of people in adulthood. I'm saying anybody currently who is like 30 and older, for sure, the way that the generation before us had parented and had, emotional intelligence was not as big. Like now with social media and everything being so prevalent and being talked about more about anxiety and depression and the nervous system and healing, emotional healing, mental health, I think that it's opened up a whole new way of living and operating and functioning. And it's just, we can be sad that, we can have compassion though too for our parents and the ways that they parented us, because they did what they knew. They didn't really have access to resources. It was not okay for people to go to counseling very much back then. It's more faux pas to talk
Right.
about
Well, and
anxiety or
yeah, not
depression.
available. Right.
Not available. And so it's like, okay, it makes sense why probably 99% of the population
Mhm.
currently in adulthood is struggling with, suppressing emotion.
Mhm. And it can feel scary. Like, you want me to just experience
Yeah.
anger, or even some of the other ones, the abandonment or the rejection, humiliation, some of those that it's like, why would I want to experience that? And
Yeah.
so the tendency to push it away certainly it makes sense. But
But
like
the
you said,
interesting thing is that it actually takes more energy to suppress the emotion than it does to actually address the emotion and embrace the emotion. The
yeah,
more we spend suppressing and resisting and denying what is actually present, it just overflows and causes more problems with relationships in our life and relationship with ourself.
yes.
The relationship with ourself is built on a lack of trust
Mhm.
that we're
Mhm.
going to show up for ourselves.
Right.
And so
I
when we open that door to actually dealing with the emotions, we gain so much more in our energy going into it at first. While it feels scary, and it makes sense that it feels scary and unfamiliar, that as we do it, we realize, holy crap, this is so much easier and
Yes.
better than
Mhm.
resisting and suppressing.
Right. I think it was one of those that we didn't even know it was available, right?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't talked about, as we said,
Yeah.
or it wasn't a skill set that anybody ever really taught us. And so it just was, you don't know what you don't know. And
Right.
it's like, oh, I can do this differently. And certainly there's, retraining your brain and your body, because you haven't tried it that way before. But
Mhm.
yes, I say to clients too that the freedom that comes from being able to express those emotions, and then as well as how empowering it is to
Mhm.
feel like you're in control rather than just reacting to other people or the situations around you, that life isn't just happening to you, but you are fully part of this experience and do have control of more than you actually realize.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fascinating. What are some of the biggest challenges you see, like when people start this work, or what are the barriers, like for people to get started?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of resistance. I think there's lots of barriers, right? Like people will say they don't have enough time or they don't have money. Those are the big ones that people throw out there. But
Sure.
ultimately, inside, I think people are scared because they don't know what they don't know, like you said, right? They don't know. And so it's scary for our brain to choose a path that feels unfamiliar, uncomfortable, and feels foreign. I tell my clients, and I love this analogy, I'm like, you're riding a unicycle for the first time right now. Of course it's going to be awkward and uncomfortable and unsettling and uncomfortable, and you're going to fall off of it and it's going to feel clunky, and but you have to do it a handful of times before it actually starts to feel like, oh, maybe I can actually keep this standing up.
Mhm. Right.
And it's a skill. It's
Yeah.
a skill that is practiced. And so if we can go into it and help the brain and the body to feel safe enough to take just one little step towards it at a time, we can begin to build a new neural pathway in the brain, and we can guide the body to experience and embody new emotions and new experiences over here. But we have to be really patient and compassionate and loving with these parts of us that feel really scared to do it. And we
Yeah.
have to help that part of our brain that's sitting there freaking out about it and is wanting to shut down from it because it feels scary, to just say, hey, I'm not asking you to jump off the cliff here. We're just going to take one little step today, just one.
Mhm.
Then we take another. And what I tell my clients is we get to go at the pace that they are okay with. They choose and they heal through choosing the rate of comfort that is good for them.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
never,
that choice is
yeah,
powerful.
like I'm not going to shove you off the cliff and say, jump. I hate people that do that. Honestly, like I get why mindset coaches do that. And it's like, you got this, just do it. And I'm like, you're telling that to somebody who's had trauma in their life and their survival brain is going, I can't
Mhm.
do it. And they're freaking out.
Yeah.
And that's not loving.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
we've already had to forcefully go through a lot of experiences that were out of our control.
Mhm.
And that's not like, it's not how we help the body to do it. And so, like, yes, to some degree, do we have to just be like, okay, I'm just going to do it. And
Mhm.
but we choose to. And if we really don't feel safe, we have to help ourselves to feel safe to do it.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. And that's something I practice with my clients as
Yeah.
well, that there's, it's different if it's wanting to drink more water or, some of these other little habit things to just go
Yeah.
do it, right? But when your mind and your body have been resisting this, or it's has hurt or trauma from the past, to just think differently, to just do it differently is not that easy. It is
Yeah.
little tiny steps that are believable, that are not comfortable, but doable. I like to say almost like a bridge, just, a little bit at a time. Because otherwise, yeah, all that resistance comes right back up and you're like, I'm done. It didn't work. I'm done. I tried it. And you're right back, maybe even worse, where you started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you shut down and you freeze and you stay stuck in that, and it's like, oh no, now I'm going to self-protect even more because
Mhm.
that was too scary. That was too much for me. So
Yeah, love that. Well, we had talked about doing kind of a guided practice with me, and the listeners can follow along.
yeah, I'm
And
excited.
so we'll transition into that. And I'm going to be the client here in this case, or the guinea pig, however we want to think about it. So it's very authentic. Jill and I haven't talked
Yeah.
exactly about what this is going to be. So I am game to just go along and try. And if you are listening, you can certainly listen through and then come back and do your own, but give you an idea of what something of this nature might be like for you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
take it away.
And I invite anybody to try and do it along with us, and just to experience it and see what it feels like for you, as well. But we're just going to first start by kind of closing our eyes and just taking a breath. I just want you to simply notice your breath as it goes in and out. Maybe take notice of the temperature of the breath. Take notice of the rate that the breath is going in and out. And seeing if you can allow that breath just to go a little bit softer, a little bit slower, allowing the body to just come and pause and come into this moment. And I invite you to just feel where your body is in your seat, if you're sitting, or your feet on the ground. Just notice the support that you feel in this moment. And allowing your body to know right now that it's safe in this moment. And I invite yourself to even just kind of take your hands and start gently moving them back and forth, just allowing your body to be grounded in this present moment, just feeling the sensations of what it feels like to touch your fingers, to touch the palms. When we do things like this, we're sending messages to the body. It's okay to slow down in this moment and be present. Now we can connect to the body, that we're here, that we're noticing, that we're present. And I invite you to even take your hand and put it on your chest. If it feels comfortable to put one on your chest and one on your belly, you can. And just communicating through touch to the body that we are here, that we are present, and that we're listening. We're listening, we care, and we're turning towards the body in this moment. And we're offering just a little bit of support. And we're just going to start with a little body scan. So let's just start with your toes and just kind of scan. And I want you just to notice if you feel any sensations in your feet or your toes, your ankles right now. Noticing temperature, noticing anything that's tense, noticing if it's loose. What do you notice anything, Kristen?
My feet are cold.
Okay, yeah. And we're going to do this in a really non-judgmental way. We're not trying to make sense of anything. We are legitimately just pausing enough to kind of notice how our body is responding in this moment. So, yeah, they feel cold. Do they feel tight or do they feel loose? Or heavy or light?
A little tightness in the arches of my feet. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we just notice that that's there. And let's just move up to the calves, to like your knees, your calves, even into your thighs. Do you notice any sensations there that stand out to you?
Some tightness in my left calf.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the left side's just a little tighter than the right side. Is the temperature any different from the left to the right?
It's warmer on the left.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, good. And just move up into your hip region. Noticing your hips and maybe your like lower back area.
Yeah, my right hip and low back is warmer and tighter as well.
Okay. So does the low back area feel open or closed?
Closed.
Okay. And move around to the front and check out your abdomen area, your stomach. What do you notice there?
It is more open. I would say more of a neutral temperature
Okay.
versus the back.
Okay, great. Yeah. And so we're just slowing down and we're just recognizing what's going on in the body and noticing the differences in the body right now. So sometimes we don't take the time to actually see it and to feel it and to be this in tune with what our bodies are holding. So let's go ahead and move up your back into your middle back, into your upper back and your shoulders and neck area. And what do you notice there?
Same on the right side. It's tighter, almost pinching in my shoulder blades. I wouldn't say it's hot, but it feels a little bit warmer. It's yeah, almost the word that comes to mind is like it's angry, it's tense.
It's tense. Yeah, hard. Okay. And you said the right side is significantly tighter than the left side. Okay. And where does that sensation start and stop? Does it wrap around your shoulders to the front side of you too, or does it just the back?
Just the back.
So it starts where and ends where?
It starts probably in my right shoulder blade, like underneath that, and it goes down to my right hip. just
Okay.
kind of along my
Yeah.
spine.
Okay. And so let's just do a quick little scan too in your chest area. Is there any tension there? Is that area open, closed, soft, light, heavy,
Um,
tense?
there's some heaviness, yeah, like in the chest sternum sort of
Chest.
area.
Yeah. Okay. Going up into your throat, in your jaw,
Mhm.
in your head.
Throat, lower throat, almost like a little ball.
Mhm.
I can still swallow around it, just kind of it's there.
Yeah. Is that there because of fear and anxiety about doing this exercise? It's okay.
No.
Okay. Okay. So from these areas that we just noticed that feel tight and feel painful or feel hard and constricted and closed, which of this area is the most? Is it the back? Is it from the shoulder blade down to the hip because of how large it is? Is that
Um, yeah, probably the large, I would say right now the shoulder blade area is probably
the
more
most?
the most. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I like to say the loudest because when we pause and we actually are in tune with the body, do you understand what I say with that? Like which one's louder, which one's
Mhm.
grabbing your attention the most now that you've paused and slowed down to see, oh, wow, there's some stress and some tension being held in different parts of my body. We all have it. It's human. So it makes sense for it to be there because we do a lot of things that, evoke a lot of emotion too. So
Mhm.
let's go to that area if you don't mind. Do you feel comfortable connecting with that part of your body right now? Okay,
Yep.
great. And I asked that just to make sure that you're comfortable with that. And so I do invite you to continue to, hold yourself either in like a little bit of a self hug or put hands on your stomach or your chest or just connect with your body in any way that really just feels nourishing right now and just supportive for you as we connect to this part of your body. And I want you just to kind of look inward towards this part of your shoulder. And I want you to see if you can describe what it would look like if you were to visualize an object inside of there that really depicts what it feels like. What do you see? What image comes up for you?
Um, it's like a fiery ball.
Okay, a fiery
Red,
ball.
yeah, red and orange and very hot.
Okay, yeah. Is it one ball or are there multiple balls?
One.
Okay. Is that ball moving or is it stuck and in one place?
It's like rotating, moving. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So it's rotating. And does it feel open or closed?
closed.
Feels very closed. Does it feel very tight and like suffocating in there, like real constricted and closed in?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's pinching. Yeah.
Yes. Pinching. Okay. So there's a pinching sensation there. I want you just to notice your breath and let's try to send some breath into just that part of your body for a moment and just invite some space around that fiery ball. Okay. So as you exhale, I want you to exhale the air out of your mouth and just blow it out. And I want you just to send just breath into that space of just kind of like, let's go around the ball and let's give it a little bit of space to just kind of not feel like it's so tight and so intense and just snug in there. And if I were to invite you to breathe a particular color of light into that space, what color comes up for you that would be soothing and like opening and nourishing to that spot?
White.
White. Okay. So go ahead and just breathe as you're breathing, just a slow, gentle white light into that space around it. And we're not trying to get rid of this fiery ball today. We're just really trying to support it and nurture it. We're trying to love it well and give it some space around it and just be like, okay, I'm here I'm offering just kind of a cushion of protection almost for it, and letting it just have a little more space. How does that feel for you?
Feels a little bit lighter, little bit less constrictive.
Okay, good. And that's all we're wanting. We're just really wanting it to feel safe. We're wanting it to know that we long for it to be seen and heard today, whatever is held in there. And so I just want you to see if you can connect with that part, that fiery red ball, and just ask it, what is it holding today? What energy, what emotion is held inside of this ball? And just trust whatever comes up. Don't overthink it.
Yeah, anger and frustration.
Yeah, anger and frustration. And what is this part angry and frustrated about, if you feel comfortable enough to answer that?
Wanting support from other people.
Yeah. And that makes sense. Like, that's a human need, right? I want that part of you to know that it's okay to be angry or to feel the want to have that. That is a normal human desire and need, a core need. Can I ask this part of you? And I want you just to lean in a little further and seek to understand, how long has that energy and that emotion been stuck in this part of your body? Ask it. I don't want you to think about this. I just want you to ask that part of you. How long has it been here?
Years.
Years. Decades?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's long, long time. And if this part of you has been holding it for years, I want to ask this part of you, what need does it have right now in this moment? What does it need from you? Because obviously the needs weren't met by other people.
Yeah.
Right now, the only thing that we can do is allow for you to reconnect with it in such a way that helps it to know that you care enough that to help meet that need.
Yeah, and that's the resistance. Like, I'm tired of carrying it all. Where's everybody? Where are the other people? And not even wanting to, like, I'm done. I don't want to do anymore.
Yeah, and that's real. That's real. And I can have compassion and empathy for wanting that, like, and feeling that. And there's moments where we do, and it's just real life. So this part of you is having resistance.
Yeah, I think I just have to be gentle.
It needs
And
gentleness from you.
yeah, to recognize it.
Yeah. Are you okay with it being here? Are you okay with this fiery red ball that is feeling this way? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a hard one. Yeah, because I want it gone.
Yeah. So I want you to tell it that you're sorry that you've been wanting to let it be gone, that you've been wanting to just get rid of it. If you feel comfortable with that, and if that feels aligned for you, I want you to just seek to see if you could connect with it in a way of just admitting, I've been wanting you to be gone. What would you say to it that feels authentic in this moment?
I'm sorry that I didn't see you and was
Mm,
pushing it away.
yeah. And now you see it. And now you're aware, right, that it's there and it's
It's shrink.
fired.
Yeah, it's shrinking.
It's shrinking. Beautiful. I want that part of you to know that it's safe in this moment to be seen, to be heard, and that I am genuinely sorry that you have held that for so long, that was a reality of your past that has created this stuck emotional energy within you that feels so closed and heavy and hot. That somewhere along the lines, and if we had more time, I would go further and I would step into this more of, and I invite you to do this further on your own of like, how long, where, when did it start? What started these beliefs inside of me? What caused this emotion to brew? And maybe there's a chain there of things that have happened that have reinforced it along the way. But deep inside, what we go to is that core root of that younger child or the youngest part of you that started to feel this way. And we connect with that younger part of us with love. When I said that, did a certain age pop up for you?
Age 9.
Yeah. Can you see a 9-year-old version of you if you were to try and envision it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you see yourself for just a moment connecting the adult version of you with this younger version of you? If you were to walk up to her right now, what would you do to embrace her and help her to feel loved, safe, supported?
Give her a hug.
Yeah. So in this moment, I want you to offer yourself a hug and to visualize seeing yourself giving her this hug. And how does that feel for her and for you?
It's like connection.
Does it feel a little uncomfortable? Is there a little resistance, or does it feel good?
No, it feels good.
Okay, good. And do you have a felt sense of like what she needs to hear in this moment from you, from somebody who cares and somebody who sees her? How could you help her to feel seen and heard and supported right now?
I think I'm telling her, I see you, I hear you, I'm here for you.
Yeah. Yeah. How does she receive that? Does she receive it?
It's distrusting.
Yeah. And let her know that it's okay and it makes sense for her to distrust you because you've been ignoring it and repressing it for a long time. And that's okay. We don't have to shame ourselves for doing that, but we just can admit that to her maybe and let her know, like, yeah, I'm sorry. I want you to trust me. And I haven't given you reason to trust me. And so here's where I start now, rebuilding that trust. And is she open to that? Ask her if she's open to that.
She's open to it. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. And so ask her, what does she need in this moment from you?
To just be with her.
She doesn't want to be alone.
No.
Yeah. Did she feel deeply alone as a child?
At times, yeah.
Times. Yeah. And those times were very real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So at times, and right now, all she needs from you is just to be with her and be present. And are you okay with that?
Yes.
You are open to that. Okay, great. What do you sense that she also needs to hear? Do you sense anything else that she might need to hear from you?
I think she needs to hear that it's okay. But what's interesting, like my throat, like right now, is like having a hard time saying that.
Yeah. And it's beautiful that you notice the sensations of your throat right now and acknowledged it. Like that is how we heal, right? Like we acknowledge what is present and we notice the shifts in our body. And sometimes when a part of our body actually decreases in intensity with the sensations that were once present, as we move through this, they show up sometimes in another place in the body. And is there fear, or what is it that's held there in that throat as you're saying it?
I think it's distrust again of like hearing words, but there wasn't like action that followed through with it.
So this part of you really needs action, needs you to show up in a very tangible way, more than just this one little time. Yeah. And so for the sake of time, I want you just to go ahead and just notice your shoulder right now, that as we've been connecting with this younger version of you, how do the sensations feel in your shoulders right now? And it's okay if there's still some there.
It's still there. There's some tightness, but it's not, I would say it's gone from like the size of a baseball to the size of a golf ball.
Yeah. And that's great, right? Like that's to go from a pinching, painful sensation that was there and having it be this big thing and having it come smaller is beautiful. Like that is what we're not wanting to get rid of this part, because there's still more like that needs tended to here. Like, so beyond this moment, the goal is to really connect with this emotional part of you and lean in. So I would, do that through journaling or through just closing your eyes and connecting and visualizing this 9-year-old and conversating with her and learning her, like learning about her, trying to understand everything that she thinks and feels and what core needs weren't met and how you can, in tangible ways, meet those needs now. And for some people that might sound crazy, and it is a little wild. Okay. It's a little far-fetched. It's out there, but you just accessed your 9-year-old, right? Like it is actually very easy to recognize, okay, this 9-year-old little girl is still a part of me. She's very much a piece of me. And all of these other versions, because like for me, like I'm 43, like I have like, 43 different versions of me that have like endured different, struggles and pain and loss and grief and things of all kinds. And so, for you to recognize like this 9-year-old, she wants you to be present with her.
Yeah. It's powerful.
It is powerful. And then for you to follow up. So you have to show up soon so that she can gain that trust. It doesn't mean, we show up one time and then maybe 3 months from now, we were like, oh yeah, that 9-year-old, like we opened the door to see her today. She let us be seen. She let you. She didn't have to. Your body can say no to it. Your body could have said, nope, I'm not really willing for you to go there today. And I would have respected that.
Yeah.
But this part of you was open for a reason. And so my invitation to you is to connect with her. Do something that you loved as a 9-year-old. Something where you felt in flow, something that she like loved to do. Did she love to go to the park? Did she love to paint or draw? Or how did she express herself in a way that felt freeing as a 9-year-old?
Gymnastics, which is a little bit more difficult.
And that is a little more difficult.
But maybe some videos.
Yeah, but you know what? Honestly, like do some stretching, do some movement, and do it in a way of like connecting with her. See you and her doing this together and just kind of maybe do some intuitive movement even that she would be open to.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you have to go do flips, but like one of my very favorite visualizations is dancing free on the beach with my younger version of me, my 6 to 8-year-old version of me. And so you can connect in that way. Some people like to color and like connect and be like, you know what? I'm going to give myself permission to connect with this part of me in a real tangible way that lets her know that I care about her. Listen to music, maybe from back in that time frame of life, or watch a movie that you connected to maybe around that time frame of life. But the biggest part of it is honestly the communicating part of it with her. Communicating and starting to show up what needs didn't get met, and then you step up into it and you meet those needs.
Thank you so much, Jill. It was beautiful and powerful, and I hope listeners were able to do some of that their own and discover what those aspects in their body as well. So
yeah, like what are their bodies holding, right? Like that's the question. What is our body holding? And as a human, I appreciate your vulnerability in doing this, Kristen, because I know that was brave and powerful, I'm sure, for your listeners to hear too, that you are willing to be, vulnerable. And I know that that's something that you're working more towards too, of like wanting to open up and be brave to do something like that. I know for any human, that's not easy to be seen in that way in a very public forum as well.
Yes.
So I honor you for doing that.
And thank you. And thank you for allowing the opportunity. So where can listeners learn more about you and your coaching and what you have to offer?
Yeah. So my whole philosophy about emotional healing is all based on this visual of dancing in the mess. So my Instagram handle is @dancinginthe-mess. And, because we're seeking to find joy still in the midst of all of the messes that we endure, right? Facebook @dancinginthe-mess. I have my page there. And then you can also find me online at dancinginthe-mess.com or jillmariehowell.com. Like they both go there, but my full name is Jill Marie Howell. And so, yeah, you can find me on there.
I will link those in the show notes. And Jill does have, is it a free monthly guided session that you offer?
Yeah. Yes, I do. And it actually, so in January is when the free part of it stops, but I'm still going to do it. So I have a monthly release and restore class. That's a somatic class. And this month in December, it's going to be on December 13th. It will be my last free one, but it's a low cost. It'll be a low cost moving forward, but I have that opportunity every month. And then I also have a free download that has 5 easy ways to relieve anxiety and overwhelm. And they're somatic practices. There are 5 videos and audios that actually guide you in your body. So that's a great resource to download too.
Very cool. So I will link your website in the show notes then as well. So thank you so much, Jill. And this was so informative to learn about a lot, right? And we're just scratching the surface with somatic practices, but hopefully it gave an introduction to listeners and just another way that, the different modalities that may work in different aspects of your life or with different situations, and that I talk lots about emotions, and sometimes people need to go deeper and broader, or again, it's just the chronic, like you said, depression, anxiety, PTSD, or stressors that need a different source than what I have to offer. So I love being able to share some of these other options with our listeners.
Yeah. Thank you so much for
Thank you for listening to the Stop Overthinking podcast with Kristen Odegaard. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone else who would benefit from the message. To learn more about working with me and links to social media and free resources, head over to my website, coachwithkristen.com. That's Kristen spelled Kristen. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss future episodes. Have a great week.